Oh. Oh, I did? I didn't move it. Oh, he moved it. Here, let me move this for him. Is it this one?
That's all right. Leave it alone. I'm good.
This is showbiz.
We're good.
He was messing with it after the show the other day, and I forgot. I told him
I
to
hear
stop
ya.
messing with
This is
it.
show business. You want more? You want me to zoom in more?
That's good.
What about mine? Am I good?
No, you're not.
I'm not entirely good because my TikTok isn't working. But hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. Today is Monday, December 30th, 2024. It's also game day in Detroit or San Francisco. You do the math. I'm hosting today because Sam is out of town. My name is Michael Palazzola. My friends call
What
me
else
Zolo.
is new?
Uncle Sam wants to tell you what else is new. Uncle Sam, introduce yourself to the people real quick.
Hello.
And not necessarily on the ones and twos at the moment because he is messing around with some cameras.
The camera's good. Leave it alone. Get out of there.
That is perfect. What about mine? Am I good?
I've always liked your camera. Your camera's great.
Are we live on TikTok?
We are live on TikTok.
Jeez, why can't I see it?
Okay.
Anyways, welcome aboard. We have a lot to talk about. First things first, Merry Christmas, because we were not here last week. So we'll recap the last week's games. We'll talk about our Christmas for 1 second because Uncle Sam hates talking personal life.
Correct.
And on top of that, we will get into, we have a lot to cover today. We'll pick the Lions. We'll update you on all the playoff scenarios. We also want to do the college football games. We have a game tomorrow, 3 games on Wednesday. There's a lot to talk about. But first, Uncle Sam, you need to buy me time while I set up my computer, so I need to know how your Christmas was.
It was great.
Tell me more.
It was great. A lot of food. Gained about 20 pounds.
What'd you eat?
I just a lot of food, dude. You name it, we ate it.
Bruce, I cannot see us on TikTok. Oh, there it is.
It went down and came back up.
Got it. Okay, we're back.
Okay.
You ate great. Was there kapusta?
Yes.
Was there red meat?
Yes.
What kind of red meat?
My sister made it. Filet.
Filet mignon. Excellent. Love to hear it. Bruce, how was your Christmas?
Fantastic.
Tell me more. Fantastic doesn't do me enough bot time right now.
I didn't do anything but sit in my room, play video
Smoke
game,
dope and play
watch
with his
movies with
wiener.
my family.
The amount of
Ate
mind
shit
wandering
ton of
wandering
cookies.
that occurs when you start with, how old are you, 25, 26?
24.
When you start with sat in my room on Christmas, you got to be really careful with
I'm
comments
talking
like
about
that.
the
Really
whole,
high.
I'm talking
sitting
about
in his
my whole
room.
week off.
What about you? How was your Christmas?
My
What
Christmas,
did you do?
My Christmas was quiet. I was a little under the weather. All of my holidays are in Shelby. My brother does
Okay.
Christmas Eve. We did the Feast of the Seven Fishes. It was good.
What
Then
is the sea of the
the Feast of the Seven Fishes is, it's so hard to explain, but it's an Italian tradition. And the Feast of the Seven Fishes it's usually Christmas Eve, and you cover 7 different fishes and you serve them at dinner. The origins, it's a Roman Catholic thing, and it's abstaining from meat the day before Christmas. We still had short rib pasta. My sister-in-law makes this wonderful short rib pasta. And I don't eat a lot of fish, but I did eat lobster. I had some octopus. I love octopus. It's one of the few fishes I'll eat. But so we always do Feast of the Seven Fishes, and then we do our red meat on Christmas. I didn't get anything exciting worth talking about, which is fine. And then I laid on my couch for the 2 days after. I watched Squid Games entirely on the 26th, watched football.
Yeah, we need a review on the Squid Game.
I liked it. It sets up for season 3. It's a story for another time.
Oh,
I think
they always end it like.
I think we should watch some football. I don't know what you guys think about that. Or excuse me, I think we should talk some football. Because we had games Saturday, we had games Sunday. Where do you want? You know what? No, I'm going to dictate this. I will tell us where to start because there was one game we were all monitoring yesterday and over the weekend, and that was the Vikings and the Packers. Packers went into, what are they calling it? What's the name of that stadium there?
I don't know.
Some bank stadium. I don't even know the name of it right now. U.S. Bank Field, whatever the hell they're calling it. And the Vikings looked like the team that everyone thinks is a team of destiny as they took down the Packers 27-25. The score doesn't indicate how not close the game was. The Packers made it close at the end, just like when they played earlier in the year. Uncle Sam, what are your thoughts from the game before I ask you some questions? Did you watch the full thing?
You know what? What are you going to say, dude? I was rooting for the Packers to win that game, and it just seems like Jordan Love just some games he's just so good, and just some games he's just average.
So some stats to back up what you just said.
Yes.
And it's on the Packers entirely, by the way. They are 0-5 now against the Lions, Vikings, and Eagles. So 3 teams that surely they will have to beat one of those teams if they want to win a Super Bowl. They are now 3-5 against teams above 500, with one of those wins coming. Maybe it's 3-6 actually. I think 3-6 against teams above 500, with one of those wins coming against a Rams team that was missing everyone.
When they were all
And it just kind of feels like I actually didn't think Jordan Love was that bad yesterday, but I know what you're saying. In big games, he doesn't show up. You know who doesn't show up for the Packers in big games, in my opinion? Matt LaFleur. I think he gets out-coached in every single meaningful game. And this is crazy because I think he's a really good coach and a really good talent developer and a wonderful offensive mind. I just think he has this knack for getting out-coached in these games. And I can think of so many instances yesterday. They were the victims of some poor officiating here and there, but that's not why they lost. It wasn't indicative of the score. But, for example, the 2-minute drill at the end of the first half, they needed a field goal. And there was a penalty that brought them from 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6. And his play call on 3rd and 5 was a bomb outside the numbers to, I don't know if it was Dontavian Wicks, or I don't remember who it was, but it was an overthrow from Love. On top of that, I thought he was way too conservative with the pass game, which is working for them. The way to beat the Vikings is you want to deal the ball in between the numbers. All of his passes were downfield to the outside. He did not spend any time picking apart the Vikings linebackers or their safeties in the middle of the field. And for that reason, I think he made Jordan Love look bad. I think he wasn't reliant enough on Josh Jacobs when Jacobs was hot. When Jacobs was hot, he was going away from him, and then he'd go back to him when the Vikings had the run game figured out. I just think that Matt LaFleur is not a good coach in big games. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not a LaFleur guy. I'm not. Haven't been since he's been there.
I would argue the way it looks right now, they're going to go to here. I have the scenarios somewhere, but I believe they're going to either go to L.A. No, they're almost locked in. If the Commanders win this week, they're locked into the 7, which means they have to go to Philly. They lost to Philly on a neutral site at the beginning of the year, and Philly is better now than they were at the beginning of the year. And Green Bay, I don't want to say they're better or they're worse because I think the Packers are a really good team. I just no longer think they can win a Super Bowl this year. I don't think they have that juice. So what do you think about week 1 of the playoffs, them going into Philly? Who do you think will win that?
I would take Philadelphia there. I just don't think you can go into Philly and manhandle them. And if they can do that, if they can go into Philly and beat Philly, then they got a shot.
Backtracking a little bit here, let's talk about the Vikings. They're the belle of the ball at the moment. If I had to guess, they're going to come into Ford Field favored next week. If I had to guess,
I would think so.
I think they're going to be favored. Real quick on Darnold, there's all this talk about Burrow and all this talk about Allen and all this talk about Lamar Jackson. I don't understand why Darnold or Goff aren't in the conversation at the moment. You're a big Darnold guy. What do you think?
As far as what, MVP?
MVP, just in general. What do you have to say about Sam Darnold?
What do you say about a guy who was drafted from a team, played 12 games, and was sent packing? I think he's resurrected his career, man. Some guys, they just go to a different place. And I actually thought Darnold would have been good in San Francisco. He didn't get the opportunity because he was hurt when Purdy was placed as the starter. So, it is what it is. What are you going to do? The guy's resurrected his career like Baker Mayfield. And, and the Vikings would be dumb to let him walk. He's not under contract with them right now. He needs to close out the year strong. If they can get deep into the playoffs, I would say he's a for sure thing to come back.
Yeah, I mean, you know me. I'm a big Michigan guy. I'm a huge J.J. McCarthy guy. He's the best quarterback I got to see at Michigan. To me, there's no scenario. You draft J.J. McCarthy in hopes of him becoming what Sam Darnold currently is for them.
Yeah.
So there's no scenario, in my opinion. I think they have a year to figure this out. I think that what makes the most sense is they tag him, right? Maybe they're kind to him and they let him get a say in it. Maybe they do extend him. I think the scenario that makes the most sense is they tag him and they let J.J. McCarthy get a year under Darnold to see if he's healthy.
Darnold's not under contract. This is
His last year, so they would have to tag him
either tag him
or sign him
or let him walk.
or sign him. What makes the most sense is the tag. They're not letting him walk. There's no way. You saw that locker room video. He's playing at an MVP level, and again, like, yeah, you got J.J. McCarthy, but Sam Darnold is what every team is aspiring for right now.
Correct.
There aren't many quarterbacks you're taking over Sam Darnold the way he's playing. On top of that, if you wait a year, you can at least see if there's a regression, if this was a fluke. At this point, I don't think it's a fluke. I think no matter what quarterback you throw in that offense.
It's like Geno Smith. When Seattle took the chance on him and brought him in, okay, did he really get a fair shake where he was at prior? He played on a garbage team, drafted by the Jets, that should tell you, and then it just didn't work out. And then he disappeared for 3 or 4 years, and then he shows up, and Pete Carroll gives him an opportunity to be a starter, and he turned his whole career around. I mean, it's the same scenario with Darnold. It's the same thing. The guy was in limbo. He's drafted by the Jets. The Jets basically bailed on him too early to even give the guy a legitimate opportunity, and now he hit the street, and he's in a better place for it.
Yeah. I don't think there's a scenario where at least next year Darnold isn't the starter.
Yeah.
From there, it's this quarterback crop this year. We've talked about it in this year's draft. It's weak. If you're one of those teams that needs a quarterback like the Giants, like the Patriots,
The Giants just screwed themselves.
They
went from 2 to 4.
Screwed themselves. But there's teams in the top 5 or 6. The Raiders, the Giants, possibly the Titans. There's teams that need quarterbacks. The Browns are now number 3. Wouldn't you want to make a phone call?
Deshaun Watson's guy.
Yeah, and it's too early to give up on them. But there's a scenario where they take a quarterback. There's certainly.
I can say this. I will be shocked if he's on the roster in the spring.
You're talking about Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
But if you're one of those teams that I named, wouldn't you want to make a phone call? The Vikings are sitting real pretty. Wouldn't you want to make a phone call on J.J. McCarthy? Wouldn't you want to see what it would take to pry J.J. McCarthy away? Like if you can give up a later first, wouldn't that be a good deal to see if you can get him?
I think the Vikings will do that because I think they're going to basically bring this guy along. He's going to play behind Darnold for however long he's there. And he's going to learn how to be a professional quarterback.
I think 1 year. I think they're going to give Darnold 1 more year, and they're going to see where it goes. And if he plays at this,
if he plays well next year, then
they have to sign him long term.
You have to sign him. McCarthy will be your backup, and there's nothing wrong with that. Look how many years Rodgers sat behind Favre for like 5 years.
It's a long time.
6 years.
It's a long time.
You know.
Some questions in the chat. Gabe is saying, who should I pick up, Michael Penix Jr. or Bryce Young to drop C.J. Stroud if Joe Flacco doesn't play? First things first, it's a shame that your fantasy league is running into week 18.
Are you still in a fantasy league at this point?
There's 2-week championships for a lot of teams. You
wow.
should negotiate next year after what just happened for week 17. You should negotiate to cap your year a lot earlier. Out of all those names,
there's too many teams that you don't know if guys are going to play or not. You don't know. It's too indecisive.
Michael Penix is going to play and has a lot to play for and looked good last night, put up points last night. I would pick up Michael Penix. I would drop Stroud for Michael Penix. And I wouldn't play Flacco at all because the Colts are out and no one's trying over there. Raiders Nation saying Genty to LV. I think Genty's going to end up in Dallas. But we'll see. If the Raiders want to take an early flyer on him, we'll see. What else do we have here? I'm up 10. I have Kittle. He has Amon-Ra. Do I still win? I think there's a scenario where Amon-Ra scores more than 10 on Kittle, but I like all of the Niners pass catchers tonight. I think the Niners pass catchers are going to eat. What do you think?
You like anybody against the Detroit secondary.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Rocket Guy said, shout out to Rocket Guy. He's always in the chat. Shout out to our boy Raiders Nation. He's always in the chat as well. Packers are like a Toyota MR2. I mean, yeah, it's a sports car, but it's a Toyota. Yeah, it's a really good way to look at it. I'm up 10, and he has Jameson Williams. There's a chance where you lose if you have no one going tonight because Jameson Williams, I think, is going to be a very featured part of the Lions' offense tonight. I'm up 16, and I have Laporta versus Kittle. You should have that locked down, in my opinion. Rocket Guy said Vikings first round exit opens up the Darnold trade discussions. Agreed, but they have to have the first round exit first. If they have
That's
the bye,
I don't see that happening.
I can see the Vikings, if they, in the event that they lose to Detroit next week, I can see them going into whatever, Tampa, Atlanta, or LA and winning. I could see that happening. And then I could see them losing the following week to possibly the Packers again, or possibly the Lions, or possibly whoever is the 3 or 4 seed. I can see that scenario happening. They're a team that struggled with the bye. I think they've gotten the bye before and haven't played well. So, hot take: Tom Brady gives a haul to trade the Vikings for J.J. McCarthy. I could see that. I don't think I would pay more than a first round pick for J.J. McCarthy because you don't know what you have. You don't give more than that. You don't know what you have.
Mark Crack in the YouTube chat says, I played James Conner and sat T. Higgins, and I demand compensation. You and 10 million more other people feel the same way right now.
Mark, I'm sorry to hear that. Hopefully, hope you're doing well. Sorry that happened. Was that on our advice? Because James Conner was supposed to have a big game.
Know,
I think didn't he end up with a touchdown yesterday? I don't know, but
I don't know. But you know what? He won a lot of people their leagues.
Shout out to everyone else in the chat. Andrew, I see you. Was it the equivalent of the bear episode, Zolo? No, we don't throw forks on our Seven Fishes feast. My grandma was there. She's 100 years old. One Pride, inshallah. Where's Dam from Rocky Oxford? Dam is in Florida.
Speaking of 100 years old, Jimmy Carter passed away.
Yeah. R.I.P. Jimmy Carter. He probably accomplished more not as a president in his post-presidency.
He was probably one of the worst presidents. Well, the second worst president of all time, behind Joe Biden. I'm sorry? It's a Lil Wayne song. He's the second worst president behind Joe Biden.
Moving on, Uncle Sam.
Yes.
Speaking
We're not political here, by the way.
Speaking of
We're not political here.
Speaking of second worst president, the worst game of the weekend, the worst primetime game I have ever seen was Thursday when the Seahawks headed to Chicago to take on the Bears. At the time, the Seahawks were still in contention. They won 6-3 in a field goal off. There were more.
I loved it.
There were NHL games that scored more than that.
You know
game.
what, dude? That's how football's supposed to be played.
So, recapping, as of last night with the Commanders' victory, there's some scenario where the Seahawks could still be alive going into Week 18. They are officially out of contention. The Rams clinched the West. The Seahawks are done. Do you have anything to say to eulogize the Seahawks?
Sorry?
Do you have anything you want to say to eulogize the Seahawks at all?
It was a sloppy game, and they came out on top.
What about the
What are you
season?
gonna do?
Anything to say on the season? Good year for first-year head coach Mike McDonald?
I think so. Nobody's talking about him.
There's things to look forward
if
to.
you can get them into the playoffs and they can surprise a couple of teams into the playoffs, I think more people will jump on board.
I want to see what they look like with a slightly more competent quarterback than Geno Smith. That's the storyline I'm keeping my eye on this offseason.
You know what, though? Geno's won them some big games this year himself.
But they're not going to the
There
playoffs.
was a 3-game stretch without Geno. They don't win.
He had 2 chances to beat the Vikings last week, and he didn't. We needed him to do it.
No.
On Geno Smith, I think Geno Smith just is what he is at this point. I think that's what I would call him. I think he's hit his ceiling, and he can win some games for them. I don't know if he's. This was a division that was up for grabs, and I think they choked down the stretch. And he's not the reason why, but he's part of the reason why.
No.
Chicago, there's really not much to say that we haven't already said about them. I have a good talking point for you.
Go ahead.
There are rumors swirling. Ben Johnson has been linked to this job for months. There are rumors swirling right now that Ben Johnson will not take the Bears job unless Ryan Poles is fired, their current GM. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how Ben Johnson could sit there and say, well, you got to fire your GM if you want me to come there. That to me is ridiculous.
Because I think it's gone without saying that Chicago has really mishandled a lot over the last couple of years.
You know what? I beg to differ. I think they drafted pretty well the last 2 years, and they've really done well in free agency.
They've drafted
I don't think that's an issue.
They traded a second-round pick for who's that receiver from Pittsburgh that quit on everybody, and he's been all over the place, and he's out of the league now. The kid from Notre Dame from Canada.
Fuck.
I'm looking right now.
No, but I see where you're going with this, but I can say this. I think they've drafted very well the last 2 years. I don't think that's an issue with them. The GM to me is not the issue there.
Chase Claypool.
What needs to happen? Well, Claypool is a knucklehead too.
He traded a second-round pick for him.
Hold on, all these guys because he's a big outside X receiver, something they needed that they didn't have before they got Keenan Allen.
People are also upset, especially in Chicago. People in Chicago, which I didn't see this, and I don't know if you mentioned this or not. People in Chicago foresaw that they didn't put any resources into their offensive line, and it would be a problem. And that's what have been.
Well,
that's what
I
would have
don't
been more
agree with that
important.
either because they drafted offensive linemen last year and the year before. They've drafted linemen pretty within the
Free agency. From a salary standpoint, they have the second cheapest offensive line in football at the moment.
Okay.
And people think that
you
that's a
see why.
major issue.
I think there's bigger issue than that.
What's that?
Number one, they don't have an offensive coordinator worth of shit there. You got 3 solid receivers there, and you trying to tell me you can't game plan with that fucking team to make a viable offense? I mean, I don't agree with that. I think the problem in Chicago and it's coaching. That was their fucking problem from the get-go, coaching.
I agree.
That's why Eberflus is gone. That's why whoever's the stand-in will be gone, and they need a guy like Ben Johnson to come in. But I don't think if you're Ben Johnson, you're calling for the fucking GM's job. I don't believe that part of it. But
yeah, I mean, those are all rumors.
Those are rumors. I don't believe that.
If it's not Ben Johnson, a lot of Bears fans are clamoring for Vrabel, and if it's not Vrabel or Ben Johnson,
I heard that
Vrabel
was
the Patriots
going to be the guy there.
You're talking about Chicago or the Patriots?
Chicago.
Yeah, I think that Vrabel will end up in Foxborough or he's going to end up in Chicago.
Probably.
He's going to get one of those two jobs.
That's it. That's if they move on from Mayo.
We'll get there. We're not there yet. We will get there. Another lackluster game on Saturday occurred in, I don't know if this was England. No, this was in L.A. You always know when the Cardinals are playing in L.A. because it's one of the few Rams home games where their stadium doesn't get raided by opposing fans.
Okay.
So you could see more blue than usual. The Rams defeated the Cardinals 13-9 in a very unextraordinary game. Inextraordinary. I think I used the wrong word. Inextraordinary. That being said, with some scenarios that played out yesterday, the Rams have officially clinched the West. What are your thoughts, Uncle Sam?
That doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. I thought they were the favorite going in. Them or the Cardinals, and they played for the position. I get it.
I love the Rams. I love their coach. I love their draft class. They've been so inconsistent over the last 2 months. You never know which Rams team you're going to get. They could be the team that ass hammers the Bills.
Well, you got to remember, too,
points.
Here's what makes them dangerous. They have a lot of guys that were on that team that won a Super Bowl. And they have a lot of guys that are gone from that team. But they have a significant array of young talent on that team that stepped in and really stepped up to be where they're at right now. So they're a fucking scary team. I would not want to play them in the first round.
That's my next question to you. Do you think they can win a game? They're going to get the Commanders or the Packers. Do you think they're going to win a game?
Yes.
Do you think they can beat the Commanders and the Packers?
Yes. I think they could beat both of
them. The Cardinals, real quick. Let's wrap them up.
Jonathan Gannon, love the guy, dude, but you know what? It's not working out.
That was my question. Are they going to make any major changes going into 2025?
You might see that. You could see that. I think that to have such a lead like they had and just let it pewter away the way they did, that's not a good sign.
I don't know if they're going to make changes, but I could see it.
No.
I could see it happening. I could see, because I think Gannon is well received. One thing you learn about these coaches is, excuse me, some of them are better coordinators than they are coaches. And I think both of Nick Sirianni's coordinators, who are both great, went on to do things, and they're both floundering. The Cardinals and the Colts, who we will talk about later, are both in the same.
Both of these guys,
they're in the same
could
state.
be on the outside looking in.
They could be.
Yeah.
I do still think, and I might be a hopeless romantic, I do still think there's potential with Kyler Murray. I like how they've progressed offensively.
I've kind of packed it in that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I don't blame anyone who
just-
says that.
I haven't seen enough out of him to say that he's a legitimate guy that can win you a Super Bowl. He's too inconsistent.
Real quick, some thoughts in the chat. Gabe, who's been asking us lineup questions, he says, should he do Marvin Harrison Jr. or George Pickens? I think Pickens this week because the Steelers actually have a lot to play for and need to win.
Marvin Harrison Jr. has been the biggest disappointment this year.
It's been tough considering when you got 4 rookies who caught 1,000 yards and he's not one of them.
Biggest disappointment. You know, he was a first receiver gone, and he wasn't the best one.
And then he said,
All I can say is that.
Jalen McMillan or Marvin Harrison. Again, same drill. I'm playing Jalen McMillan for the same reason I'm not playing Marvin Harrison. The Bucks have something to play for next week. Brian Purdy says, I'm a Saints fan. Can you all please tell me something to be positive about? If you hire Darren Reetsey, he's a good coach. I think that'd be a good hire, but the Saints need to completely revamp what they do offensively.
Yeah.
The only guy worth keeping is Alvin Kamara, who they're going to keep, but he's getting older. His window's closing. You're going to need a quarterback at some point. That might be a great spot for Kirk Cousins is New Orleans. You're going to need a quarterback.
I'm going to be honest with you, dude. I think Kirk Cousins is
Fair.
kind of ran his course. Kirk Cousins would make a great OC or coach. I think his dad was a coach, and he's got that in his bloodline. I think he would be a very good teacher to these young guys. I would love to see him be a quarterback's coach.
The gist is he said, say something positive about the Saints. I think that they're playing hard right now despite how bad the team is. What else
They've got a slew of injuries. They're missing their playmakers and everybody else. You know, they're in the same boat as everybody else.
Marvin Harrison or Pickens. So again, Gabe, just to recap, because you keep spamming us with questions, we're going Pickens over Marvin Harrison and probably McMillan over Marvin Harrison.
I would go McMillan over him. Yes.
And then Waymo in the chat says, will Ben Johnson excel further with a running quarterback?
With a running quarterback?
Yeah, I think Ben Johnson with a running quarterback. I think Ben Johnson with a running quarterback would be a lot of fun. It would be Caleb Williams is a little more mobile than Jared Goff, I think is the gist.
Well, I mean, sometimes that's a little fucking overrated too. I know that the league has slowly but surely been getting away from the stand up, read the defense, pocket passer. We understand that.
Gabe is also asking Chargers or Vikings defense next week. Yeah, you're not playing the Vikings defense against the Lions who score 30 points a game. You're going to go with the Chargers probably. Chargers are playing the Raiders, I believe. I think that makes a lot of sense. I would go with the Chargers. Who am I? Let's hit another game real quick.
We gotta see if a running quarterback outside of Mahomes can win a Super Bowl.
Is he even a running quarterback, or is he just more mobile
I would
than?
Consider he is.
Speaking of Mahomes, the Chiefs took down the Steelers on Christmas Day, 29-10. Chiefs officially clinched the 1 seed. Andy Reid has not confirmed if the starters will play on Sunday in a big game against the Broncos, for the Broncos, not for the Chiefs. The Chiefs still haven't scored 30 all year, but they've looked good in back-to-back weeks. Go ahead.
What?
Say what you got to say about the Chiefs. Talk your shit.
I ain't talking any shit. The road to fucking the Super Bowl goes through Arrowhead.
We're going to put that on his headstone.
I've been saying that all year.
We're going to put it on his headstone.
Am I wrong?
I think they
went into Pittsburgh and slapped the shit out of them.
They did. I think a good Pittsburgh team too.
Oh yeah.
I think the bigger story here is Pittsburgh. I think it's the Steelers. The Steelers have now lost 3 in a row. They are slated to play the Ravens or Texans in round 1 so that would make them the 6 or the 5 seed.
Let's be honest. The Pittsburgh offense, dude, outside of Pickens, they don't have anybody, dude.
No, and I think they have an issue at running back as well.
Fucking awful.
I think they're over-reliant on Najee Harris when Jalen Warren is the better back. Right now, I think Jalen Warren's playing a lot better than Najee Harris.
Yeah, but I love the way Najee Harris runs in between the tackles. It's no different than what you got in Detroit. It's the same thing.
I know, but the inefficiency shows there. There's no inefficiency when David Montgomery runs the ball.
They don't have a Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's the problem.
No.
They don't have a guy that's a consistent pass catcher there. I mean, outside of Freiermuth, I mean, he's your tight end, but
This
you
is
don't
a
have
great.
any receivers outside of Pickens.
This is a great draft for a wide receiver,
Yeah.
and I think they need to draft a wide receiver. I think they need to
Either
spend
that or
capital
they
on
need
wide
to sign a
receiver.
free agent.
Yeah.
You know what I would love to see there? I know it's going to sound fucking stupid. Keenan Allen. I would have loved to see Keenan
That'd be
Allen
a-
sign with the Steelers.
That would be a great spot.
I
for Keenan
think
Allen.
he's the guy, a quarterback like Russ could rely on, and it could be a safety blanket, and they would be a complete different team with a guy with his ability.
So there
Yeah.
is a scenario where the Steelers, they would need to win. They play
Yeah.
Cincinnati, and Cincinnati needs that game. Steelers play the Bengals at I don't know where it is, and then the Ravens play the Browns. So if the Ravens lose and the Steelers win, the Steelers actually do end up with the 3
Are the
seed.
Bengals even going to make it?
Well, the Bengals need some stuff to happen. We'll
Right.
talk about that. I will talk about all
Yeah.
the AFC 7 seed scenarios.
Right.
It seems like it's the Broncos to lose. The Broncos need to beat the Chiefs to get there.
Listen,
That's the problem.
I know Josh Allen is the guy
Mhm.
for the MVP, but what Burrow's doing right now, you got to fucking wake up.
We'll get there.
You got to wake up.
We're gonna
The guy-
talk Bengals in
The
a couple
guy's been a
minutes.
fucking monster for
I
the
want-
past month.
I want to ask you real quick on the Steelers. So they're either going to go to Baltimore, they're going to go to Houston, or they're going to host whoever. It would be. I think it would be Baltimore or the Chargers. Can they win any of those games? Do you like the Steelers in any of those matchups? Is there a scenario where you see them winning a playoff game? And then they're just.
At this point, no.
By the way, if they don't win a first round playoff game, they're just stuck in that Mike Tomlin purgatory that they've been
Yeah.
in for the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, but you know what? They make it every year. They make it every year.
But what's the difference if
Mike
you make it
Mike
and nothing's
Tomlin-
coming of
listen,
it, though?
There's nobody that does more with less than Mike Tomlin.
Yeah.
Look at it. Look what they had. Anybody remember? They had Kenny Pickett. They had Kenny Pickett last year. What the fuck?
But this year they have a little more to work with, and it's not
what-
like
okay.
they showed flashes for a second,
Listen,
but
their defense, that defensive team is getting old. They need to revamp on defense. They need to get some younger guys in there. They're and they got some significant injuries going on right now too on their defense.
Mhm.
Outside the offense, like I said, outside of Pickens, what do they have that's reliable? There's nothing there.
moving on. Bavada Asta in the chat, by the way, says just wait till we get Hollywood Brown, Lil Bro. He's a Chiefs fan, so he's saying
Lil
wait.
Brown?
Lil
Oh,
Bro. Lil
Hollywood
Bro.
Brown's already playing. I don't know what he's talking about. He played this week.
And then Anthony Sala in the chat brought up a really good point. What the Steelers are doing, it reminds them of the Wings playoff streaks. You know, they were in purgatory for so long, and then eventually they just fizzled out. So
Well, I mean, you say what you want to say. They also have how many Super Bowls? 6?
but they haven't won one in
It's been a while. It's been a
2000,
while.
2009.
Ben Roethlisberger. Yeah.
2009.
Yeah.
Moving on, another doozy. This time in Houston Texans, the Ravens.
Did you notice that scenario, though?
What scenario?
Well, because you've seen when Roethlisberger, when he left Pittsburgh, they've been trying to find a guy,
Yeah.
and they can't.
At some
And they
point,
haven't.
they need to
Yeah.
spend real draft
Now
capital.
you see the Patriots the last few years.
They would have been
gone
a
through
prime
that
candidate.
Same scenario.
The Steelers would have been a prime candidate to trade up for Michael Penix or Bo Nix.
Yeah.
The Steelers would have been that team, or should have been that team. At some point in the near future, they're going to have to spend actual draft capital to bring in a good quarterback. You do it while Russ is there, so Russ can raise said quarterback. That's how it works. Moving on, the Ravens took down the Texans 31-2 in Houston. Not much to talk about in that game other than Lamar, another monster stat line. The Ravens have won 3 in a row. They clinched the North with a win over Cleveland on Saturday.
what do you think of the Texans right now?
I mean,
They can't get out of their own way.
I don't see them. The only team they'll have a shot against in the first round is Pittsburgh, and I don't see it happening. I think the Steelers can go in there and win 7-3 and call it a day.
Yeah.
I think that might actually happen.
I just don't know what's happened with Stroud. I don't understand it. I get it. They can't protect him. They can't run the football. They have a good running back there. Their offensive line is absolutely horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
On top of that, they real quick. we don't talk enough about the Ravens, in my opinion. Is Lamar the MVP? I know you have Burrow. Where would you put Lamar in that conversation?
I would say.
Would you take what Lamar's doing? Would you take that over what Josh Allen's
Well,
doing?
he's having his best year. Josh Allen's numbers are down from what they've been.
Would you rank Lamar over Josh Allen then?
Well, here's the thing: Josh Allen, all they do is they keep winning. They keep fucking winning. Why is nobody talking about Pat Mahomes?
Because his numbers are not—they're not winning. Mahomes,
okay, so the numbers aren't there. Is he clearly the MVP of their team? Absolutely.
Mahomes?
Yes. Yes. I mean, he's not putting up the monster numbers that Joe Burrow is.
He's not
Joe
doing
Burrow's
anything.
putting up better numbers than anybody.
MVP doesn't go to the best player of the team with the best record. You have to have an extraordinary season to get.
Well,
MVP, in my
as
opinion.
of right now, I would say Lamar's right there. Just because numbers-wise, he's having his best year as a pro. But the problem is Joe Burrow's doing things that nobody's fucking done. So that's scary.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the Bengals in 2 minutes. I promise we'll talk about the Bengals in 2 minutes. I agree with you. I think if the Bengals somehow sneak in, and I will run you through that scenario, and I don't think the Bengals are going to get in. I think if the Bengals somehow sneak in, then I would give Joe Burrow MVP because you gave the Mahomes argument. I look at what the Bengals have been doing, and Joe Burrow is clearly the best person on that team, and he is the reason that they have been surging.
Yeah.
Like I'm watching it every week.
I mean, early on in the season, they were losing these close games. They lost them first few games, and it was just destroying their confidence. And my man had to put it on his back and earn everything from then on. I just, as of right now, I think Burrow's probably the lead. Josh Allen is going to be right there, but his numbers are down. I would put Lamar ahead of Josh Allen, personally. And then you still got to put Saquon in there.
For me,
Saquon's over 2,000 right now, and he needs 100 yards.
For me,
to break a record that's been standing for 40 years.
He needed an extra game to do it, though. He needed one extra game to do it. They play 17 games now. Eric Dickerson played 16 games.
Yeah.
But it's still impressive nonetheless. He got the 2,000 yards.
In a day where all they do is throw the football.
He got to 2,000 yards in 17 weeks. That's impressive.
Yes.
For me, 1A is Lamar, 1B is Burrow. I think if Lamar clinches the division and gets in, I think Lamar should deserve it. But if Burrow, the only thing that trumps that is if somehow the Bengals pull it off and Burrow gets the wild card spot. If they get in this week, then I would give it to Burrow. I think Josh Allen is a step under. Just because I value some of their losses. Josh Allen lost to Lamar, and they didn't get the 1 seed. I think that counts for something. Still love what Josh Allen has done this year, but
Josh Allen's numbers are down from where they've been in previous years.
Yeah.
His numbers are not impressive like they were.
They're not.
No.
Moving forward.
By him not doing that is the reason why they're winning.
Let's talk about said Bengals. That was a crazy game. One of the top 3 games of the weekend, I would say. The Bengals took down the Broncos 30-24 at home. Did that go to overtime? I think it did go to overtime, right?
Yeah.
In overtime, the Bengals are now in with a win, and they need losses from the Broncos, who are playing the Chiefs, who are resting people, and the Dolphins. And the Dolphins are playing the Jets. So they need a little help to get in. They need to win, and they need 2 teams to lose.
Well, I don't think the Jets can win another fucking game this year. They looked absolutely awful against Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard to watch. I don't know. I don't think they're going to get in either. But
I also don't think this current incarnation of the Broncos is going to lose to a Chiefs team that's probably going to rest guys next week. I don't think the Broncos are losing.
Bo Nix looked fucking good in that game, dude.
The end of that game.
I was very impressed with him.
Fourth quarter, if Jaden Daniels didn't do what he did last night, I think Bo Nix was probably right back there as rookie of the year. But then Jaden Daniels has 12 fourth quarter comebacks this year, or not comebacks, but he has 12. He leads the league in fourth quarter touchdowns this year as a rookie. Absolutely insane stuff. Yeah, Bo Nix is incredible.
I would say Jaden Daniels is rookie of the year, and Bo Nix is right next to him.
So not only is Bo Nix incredible, but he's getting, like, you could see the evolution every week. He's getting better every week. Give him one more pass catcher. Watch what happens.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna depose the Chiefs next year.
I actually like what they got going on right now with Sutton and Mims.
Mm-hmm.
Mims is that guy that can stretch the field. I really like what they got going on. I think they need a real tight end there, somebody that's good.
Yeah,
I would like to see a good tight end there. And
Colston Loveland.
And you know what? I would love to see them get a top tier running back instead of the little committee they got going on there. It's pretty garbage. But,
Yeah, that's a good spot for
that would
Genty as
really
well.
help next year.
I think they can address running back in free agency though. That's my 2 cents. But yeah, there's some offensive skill players that would fit in very nicely with Bo Nix and that passing attack right now. The Broncos, just resetting real quick. The Broncos they're the ones that control their own destiny. They are in with a win. Do they have to beat the best team in football? Yes, but I think the Broncos are playing really good right now. I think they're playing well enough to beat the Chiefs.
Chiefs are playing their guys.
They haven't said it yet.
They're playing.
They haven't said it, but I would
Buffalo's right on
imagine
your ass,
Andy
so-
Reid almost always play. No, but the Chiefs clinched the 1 seed. Chiefs clinched the 1
they
seed.
did.
That being said, Andy Reid is sharp, and I envision a scenario where the starters at least start that game.
Yes.
At least start that game. But they haven't said for certain. Andy Reid said he's going to talk to the players to see what they want to do. I can't imagine Pat Mahomes is going to say, I'm not starting that game.
They're playing.
Yeah.
Patty Mahomes.
If not,
Patty Mahomes is not sitting down till the fourth quarter
if not, you get Carson Wentz.
unless they're up.
Um,
Even hurt with a high ankle sprain. Even if they got to carry him off the field, he's not going anywhere.
Wrapping up the Saturday slate, the early game from Saturday, Jim Harbaugh went into Foxborough and dropped 40 on the Patriots. Real quick before we talk Patriots, the Chargers clinched a wild card berth. I believe they're pretty much locked into the 6th seed. Is Jim Harbaugh? I know we have Kevin O'Connell and Dan Campbell. Is Jim Harbaugh in that conversation for Coach of the Year?
I would say yeah, because I don't think anybody expected the Chargers to do what they're doing.
No, their over-under was 5.5 wins.
Yeah.
Similarly, the Vikings over-under, I think, was 6.5 wins.
Yeah. I would say Kevin O'Connell's. Listen to me. If Dan Campbell beats him, Kevin O'Connell, I still give him a lot of credit because he did it with basically a fucking backup quarterback. But I will say this. What he's done is impressive, but Brian Flores is probably a top coordinator in the NFL, period.
Agreed.
Defensive coordinator. They have talent on defense. They have young talent on defense. They traded away all their big money guys, and they haven't lost a step defensively there. And you got the best receiver in football. You got a guy on the other side of him that's a number 2 that's been playing amazing out of his mind. And you got a third guy, Naylor, who nobody expected him to be anything. And this guy's producing too. And that's all because of Kevin O'Connell.
On the Coach of the Year argument, this is what I'll say. You brought up a good point about how the Vikings moved on from certain pieces. Like they had to let Daniil Hunter walk. The Chargers traded away all of their offensive skill. Like this was supposed to be a teardown, not a rebuild, a teardown.
Jim Harbaugh wasn't stupid. If you remember, he re-signed the 2 key ingredients to his team, and that was Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack.
He didn't re-sign him.
And he restructured.
He decided we're not going to trade them, and he kept the defensive guys. They drafted Joe Alt. They took a lot of flack for drafting Joe Alt because they needed a receiver, and it's worked perfect. And
they got a receiver, and
and
later on in the draft, and didn't expect that he was going to be as good as he is.
That's a whole other conversation. Patriots fans are up in arms because they traded pick 36, which is where Lab McConkey went, to the Chargers, and then they thought, we'll be fine drafting Jalen Polk, and then they took someone else whose name I don't even know. And Patriots fans are upset because Lab McConkey was a sure thing. Lab McConkey's probably going to be a top 10 receiver going forward in the league. I think he's an incredible possession receiver. The comp I would give to him right now is like Cooper Kupp 2 years ago or 3 years ago, Super Bowl Cooper Kupp. He catches everything. Yeah. He's tough as nails. He can beat you in the slot. He can beat you on the outside.
He needs to work on his physicality. He needs to get in the weight room and put a few pounds on his little frame because he's not going to last taking the beating that he's taken. So I like him. He kind of reminds me of a lot of Wes Welker, actually.
Yeah, I'm a huge
Reminds me
fan
of
of,
Welker.
Lad
And
McConkey.
I was a big Welker guy.
Let's move on to the
7
Patriots.
straight years, 100 catches.
Let's move on to the Patriots real quick. They're now in position to pick number one. They don't need a quarterback.
So if you're the Patriots, Travis Hunter.
If you stay at one.
If you stay at
If you stay at one.
if I was them, I'd be on the phone wheeling deal and try to drop down
So would I.
and get more picks. They need more than one guy.
So would I. I agree. But if you pick at one, Travis Hunter
if
solves.
if they can drop 3 spots, drop 4 spots, and still get Travis Hunter, they're looking great, dude. And acquire some other picks.
Agreed. But I don't think Travis Hunter lasts. Like you would need a quarterback needy team to come up, and I don't think these quarterbacks are worth trading up for. 2 right now is the Titans. They might take a quarterback. We'll know soon. 3 is the Browns. They might take a quarterback.
You don't think that they're going to run with Will Levis?
So both quarterbacks, I have this in my notes. Both quarterbacks are splitting the game on Sunday. They're going to play both Levis and Rudolph. I think that's an indicator that they don't like what they have. So they might test to see if there's someone that makes sense.
Well,
another
who's
potential
going to be the backup?
might be another potential Kirk Cousins. Like there might be something. Maybe they could take a flyer on J.J. McCarthy. Who knows? Maybe we'll say, hey, we'll offer
I
you
don't
pick
think
2.
McCarthy's going anywhere.
I don't either. I don't think the Vikings would be
think he's
smart to
gonna
trade
sit.
him this year.
He's going to sit, and he ain't going.
That doesn't mean they're not going to take a flyer. So it's tricky. Like, yeah, I think that this isn't a good year to have the number 1 pick because the values are down. So if you,
I don't think so. I think there's a lot of talent there, and if you can get
Travis Hunter, Travis Hunter is number 1 overall talent.
I mean, quarterback wise, dude, either it's pick your poison, dude. I mean, what are you going to do? Is Shedeur Sanders is the best thing in college football?
We agree that he's not number 1 pick, but
I don't think he is. But I could be wrong. I mean, we don't know. We could be wrong about it.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Got it. It's the right
what's that
situation.
kid's
It's going to be
name from,
situational. Cam Ward.
Cam Ward.
And
Cam Ward is impressive to me. It reminds me a lot of Anthony Richardson.
Most mock drafts I've seen right now have the Browns, who now pick 3, going with Cam Ward over Shedeur. So Shedeur would slip down still to the Giants, I believe, at 4. So
you know what, though? After watching the Giants play an inspiring game, and I was kind of shocked because I didn't think that they were able to muster up a performance like that. And I'm shocked. Drew Lock might be the guy.
no, they need a quarter. I think the Giants need a quarterback.
No.
But this isn't it's not a good year for a quarter. Like it's not. I don't know.
He looked good yesterday. Lock looked good yesterday. He was in step. He was hitting, doing all his reads. I was impressed with him yesterday.
I have one last Patriots question before I move on, and you know what I'm going to ask.
Go ahead.
Is Rob Mayo going to be the coach there next year?
I don't know.
I think if they take a dump on, I think they're playing the Bills. They are playing the Bills on Sunday.
Well, you've seen what happened to him yesterday.
I think so Josh Allen is going to start because he has a start streak that they're keeping intact.
Okay.
He's not going to finish.
Okay.
I think if they don't fare well against a backup quarterback, 2 weeks after almost beating this Bills team, I think there's a good chance he's gone.
They let that first game get away from him, too. That was such a shame.
Especially if Vrabel is lurking and saying, well, if you have first pick, I'm very interested in seeing what Drake May has to offer me as a quarterback. I think there's...
If you're, let's say the scenario comes out, Vrabel gets hired, what do you do? What do you do with the draft pick? What do you do there?
I think if I have pick 1 this year, if I can fleece a team to go get more assets, I'm going to try and do it.
Yes.
Because, like you said, they need a lot. Like I don't think Travis Hunter's great and solves 2 needs for them, which are corner and receiver. But I don't think
Travis Hunter is going to be a receiver in this league.
Well, the team will decide. He's only going to play one position. The team will decide the position he plays. Teams are going to want him as a corner. He'll get a say.
He's elite as a corner.
But he's going to have negotiating power and say, well, you can get me as a corner. You're going to pay me wide receiver money, though, if you don't want me to pay receiver. I think that's how.
Well, I mean, corners don't make fucking chicken change anymore. They get paid pretty damn well.
They make about a third
Yeah.
less than a receiver, though. The
Oh.
top corners get $20 million. The top receivers
Yeah.
get $30 million.
Well, guess what? He'll get it. He'll get it because he's worth it.
Moving on,
What do you get that receiver? The one kid from
Arizona.
yeah.
Teteroa McMillan. There's
Yeah.
a lot of good receivers in this club. There's good pass catchers.
I think they need to. You know what teams? Here's a kind of an issue I've seen in the past 5-6 years. We don't see defensive ends go anymore in the top 3.
No, they
You
do.
don't see offensive linemen.
They do.
going
Will
in the
Anderson
top
went
3.
3 last year.
Well,
They
he
just-
only went. Yeah.
the-
okay.
the-
Outside of him, though.
This is a college football argument because NIL has changed so much
Yeah.
that guys are staying. So sometimes the best players aren't going. Like the kid from Georgia. What's the kid from Georgia's name this year? Not Tylik. Is it Tylik Williams? No, he's from Ohio State.
What's a defensive player?
Yeah, Georgia has a DN that's going to go pretty high this year.
Okay.
I think it's Tylik Williams.
Yeah.
No, that's the Ohio State guy. Georgia has so there's a couple DNs. It's Michael Williams is Georgia, Abdul Carter, who we agree about from Penn State. Mason Graham from Michigan's going to go in the top 5. He's by far the best
Both
D tackle.
tackles from Michigan.
Yeah,
are
Kenneth
gonna
Grant's
go
a
in the
top
first-
15
They're
pick.
both going in the first round.
So there's guys, it's just NIL has shaped where these guys are
Yeah.
going to go, and I think that's the problem.
But you don't see good offensive linemen. I haven't seen a good offensive lineman come out since Penny Sewell.
Joe Alt last year.
I don't believe Joe Alt is an elite tackle. I don't think he has a skill set for it. That's just my opinion. I think he's decent, but I just don't think he's that game changer that Penny Sewell is.
Moving on. Not much to talk about here, so we'll keep it short. The Eagles took down the Cowboys 41-7. Very uninspiring
what are you gonna
performance from the
say?
Cowboys. The Eagles have officially won the East, and they are locked into the 2 seed. They will face off against the Packers or Commanders. How do you think the Eagles would fare against the Packers or the Commanders?
I think they'll beat both of them.
Yeah, I think they
Yeah,
should.
I think they're better than both of those teams.
You need Jalen Hurts back, but yeah, I like the Eagles' chances
Well,
at
I
home
mean,
against either of these teams.
I believe Hurts could have played this week if they needed it, but they really don't. They've already clinched, so.
Someone's asking, Paul K is asking, Goff or Purdy tonight? It's for the championship.
Goff.
It's
Goff.
it's tricky because there's a scenario where the Lions might pull their starters, and you have to worry about that. But I do like this matchup for Goff.
I think
also
the
like it for
only
Purdy,
way
too,
that
though.
the Lions pull their starters is if they're up by a couple touchdowns.
Yeah, or if guys start getting banged up too, that's an option as well.
I think no, it's going to matter. The scoreboard is what's going to matter on it. It ain't about guys getting bumps and bruises and hurt, and it ain't about that. You think about that, then bad shit happens.
Yeah. And then another one that we don't have to say much about, another blowout. The Bucks took down the Panthers 48-14. I thought this game would be a little bit closer. So
I did
shocked.
too.
actually
I
picked the
did
Panthers,
not
I
expect
think.
for them to get. What are you gonna say? Baker Mayfield deserves to be, and to
He's
talk
in
about
that-
MVP, dude.
He's in that Darnold Goff tier. The
Yeah.
3 AFC quarterbacks are in the A tier. One of those guys will win MVP. But then there's that Baker Darnold Goff tier, and those guys are MVP. In other years, they're MVP.
Look
caliber
at Goff's
quarterbacks.
numbers, dude. He's
Absurd.
my man. Outside of that 5 interception game that he had this year,
Yeah,
it's been fucking money.
really good.
Yes.
So real quick on Tampa, they lost control there for a second, but they've retaken control of the South. Their scenario is they clinch the South with a win over the Saints and a Falcons loss. Or excuse me,
I think they'll
or
beat
a
the
Falcons
Saints.
loss. Or a Falcons loss. So the Falcons are playing the Panthers. So there's a scenario where they lose to the Saints, and then they would need the Falcons to lose. What do you think is going to happen this week before we pick the game?
With the Falcons playing?
Falcons, it's all divisional this week. So the Falcons are playing the Panthers, I believe, at home.
Oh wow. So they need the Falcons to lose to win a division.
Or if they win, the Tampa can win and they play the Saints.
Well, I think they're just going to play to win. And
Yeah. I agree.
That's that scenario.
I
That's
agree.
not going to matter if Atlanta wins or not.
I think that's what
'Cause,
ultimately happens.
The only team that's going in is Tampa.
And I
Tampa
think
holds a tiebreaker on Detroit too, by the way.
they can't tie. There's no scenario where they can tie.
Tiebreaker.
Yeah, but there's no scenario where they can tie.
Yeah.
They also beat Philly, by the way.
Yep.
Tampa.
That's why they hold tiebreaker on both of them.
The tiebreaker isn't head to head. It's
By
it's-
record. I know.
Moving on, not much to talk about here as well. Well, a little bit to talk about here, but the Bills, another blowout.
Oh God.
Bills
What
took
a
down
fucking
the
dumpster
Jets,
fire.
40-14.
I've
Bills.
never seen a team with a top 5 defense just disappear. I don't even know what to say. At this point, the major malfunction with the Jets is coaching. There is no coaching, and they need some kind of stability, and they have none. They have none.
Did you see
Zero.
Did you see Aaron Rodgers after that horrendous Garrett Wilson fumble, just phone it in, trying to go for the ball and not even go for it? Did you see that?
Hey, he's not the only guy to do that. I watched Cam Newton do it in the Super Bowl.
So I'm going to ask you this question every week
Yeah.
until there's an outcome of some sort. Is Aaron Rodgers the quarterback in New York next year?
I don't know.
After seeing yesterday, I don't think so. And then on top of that, 2 more addings. Number one, there's a rumor going around right now that Garrett Wilson has said that he will ask for a trade if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback there next year. What are your thoughts on that?
That's interesting. I don't know where that rumor came from, but
One of the big guys was reporting it. One of the big reporters was
who,
reporting it.
Schefter? Or
I can't remember
one of
who
them
it
guys.
was.
You know what? Listen, Aaron Rodgers is what Aaron Rodgers is. If he can't save the fucking Jets, nobody can. So at this point, they need to go to full rebuild. And if that's going to happen, I mean, I think they're so vested in Rodgers right now, though, dude. What are you going to do? Who are you even going to hire to come and pull this shit together? Who are you going to hire? Can't hire Belichick. He's already got a job. Who are you going to fucking hire, dude? Who are you going to hire to come in there and actually get a reins on that, to put that team in the right direction? Because the talent's there. The talent is there. The talent is not even suspect. They have a talented team. The problem is you got a defense that I don't even know what to say. I don't know how you can go from where they were last year to where they are right now, and they're completely abysmal. I've never seen anything like it. And I will say this: the way they handled that trade, the Hassan Riddick trade, was a joke. They bring this guy in; he had no contract. What is that? You get a player from Philadelphia, and he's not even under contract. Doesn't even have a contract when he arrives with the team he's supposed to be playing for, and that just blew 7 weeks of shit right there. What are you doing? Their major malfunction on that defense was they could not get a pass rush. As soon as Williams went out, they were in trouble.
The other comment was, and I have a dream scenario for you, but the other comment was, T. Higgins had a post on Instagram that Sauce Gardner commented on, and let me get the exact comments, but
Sauce Gardner is a good football player. I don't understand why everybody jumped off the Sauce Gardner wagon. I don't get it.
so
Because they're struggling, and I get that part of it.
So someone, Sauce Gardner commented, T. Higgins had a post that said, "Put me in, coach." He had a monster game, obviously, on Saturday.
Right.
And Sauce Gardner commented on the post saying, "Pay the man." And someone said, "Tell him to come to the Jets." And Sauce Gardner said, "I will not be telling him that." I want the Lions to trade for Sauce Gardner while things are still sour. And I want to pair Sauce Gardner with Terrion Arnold.
That's
and
not going to happen.
Well, let me dream.
Go
Why is it
ahead.
not going to happen?
Not going to happen.
Why?
Because we don't have the collateral.
No, they have the collateral.
Brad Holmes would never, ever use the collateral to get.
So glad you said that. When a guy does this,
Yep.
usually it lowers their value because he has leverage over the team because they don't want to
Yeah.
play there. Number one. Number two, the Jets need a full-blown rebuild.
The guy's
They're
2
gonna
years in, dude.
the
They have
guy-
a fifth-year option.
They're going to blow the whole thing up, the Jets.
I
And they have a guy.
don't know. We don't know that for sure.
They're going to blow up a lot. I don't think both
See what
Gardner and Wilson will be there next year. One of them will be. Number 2. Number 3, Brad Holmes traded a 3rd-round pick to go get what's his name? Carlton Davis last year. You wouldn't trade a 2nd-round pick to go get Sauce Gardner while he's still in his prime? I don't even think he's having a down year. I think he's just in a bad defense. When that defense is playing well, you've seen how good he is.
Well, that's my whole thing was. How do you go from being so good to so fucking bad in 1 year? It's real simple, too. You see the same thing last year happened with Philadelphia. They won their first 10 games and then fucking just ate dog shit for the next fucking 7-8 weeks.
I think the current issue with the Jets defense is they're clearly, they needed Robert Saleh. He held the keys because they weren't really giving up defensively before he got fired. And as soon as they lost Ulbrich has to focus on the whole team now. The whole defense just took a shit. Yeah. That's my opinion.
Yeah, because they haven't even been in the same defense, and they were not good from the beginning of the year. They've been bad since the beginning of the year. This is another reason why Saleh's not there. They were bad from the beginning of the fucking year, and they were just awful. They were not the Jets' defense that they were fielding last year. Yeah. I don't know what happened, what transpired. Don't know, can't say, but they are not the same fucking team that they fielded last year. The Jets played hard last year, even undergunned and having fucking, what was his name? That quarterback, the kid?
It's, Wilson. Zach Wilson.
Zach Wilson. Even with Zach Wilson, he was dog shit, but they played hard, you know?
Real quick, we've neglected the Bills. They're locked into the 2 seed officially. They will play Pittsburgh, Denver, or if there's a prayer from Cincinnati or Miami, they would play one of those long shots. Do you think they'd struggle with any one of those 4 teams? I see one.
I think Cincinnati they'd struggle with big time.
I think they'd struggle with Denver. I think Denver would push the Bills.
I actually think that Cincinnati, because, you know, everybody's forgetting that Cincinnati has a lot of fucking experience on their team. They've been to a Super Bowl. It's not like they haven't been there. They've been to one in the last 5 years. So.
They do, but I think the kryptonite on beating the Bills is you need a defense, and Cincinnati does not have a defense. That's my only knock on.
Who's got the kryptonite on the Bills? I can tell you right now.
Arrowhead.
Patty Mahomes. Patty Mahomes is called Buffalo Kryptonite.
Speaking of the Jets giving up, another team that gave up yesterday was the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, my God. They
Giants,
were fucking awful.
The Giants had an answer for everything Joe Flacco threw at them, 45-33. This was arguably the Malik Neighbors coming out party. I want to talk about him for 1 second. There are now 4 receivers this year, 4 pass catchers, I should say, because Brock Bowers is a tight end. 4 pass catchers went over 1,000 yards in their rookie year. Ladd McConkey, Brock Bowers, the monster Brian Thomas, and then, of course, Malik Neighbors yesterday had 173 yards. He looked unbeatable. He's flown under the radar this year, in my opinion, because the Giants have been so bad, but also he's exceeded the crazy high expectations placed on him, in my opinion. And I was telling Uncle Sam before the show, Brock Bowers has the all-time rookie receptions record, which is crazy. Malik Neighbors is 5. If he finishes, he's 4 receptions behind him. So if he finishes with 5 more receptions this week, he passes that already, and he did it in 1 less game. Malik Neighbors missed 2 games with concussions. He missed 2.5 games, really, because he got knocked out of a Thursday night game against Dallas.
It was the last play of the game. I remember it. He got tackled on the sidelines, went down and smacked his head off the ground. I seen it.
So I just wanted to highlight Malik Neighbors real quick. With the win, the Giants go from pick 1 to pick 4. They certainly need a quarterback.
That was fucking... I don't know what they were thinking.
They're still in striking distance, though. They have a GM and a coach that are auditioning. I think there's a scenario where they keep Dable and they move on from Joe Shane. I could see that happening.
Think so?
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the times when you hire a new GM, they want to bring in their own guy. That happens from time to time.
He brought Brian Burns there. They brought pieces on the offensive line that haven't really panned out yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what do you think of Shane?
Bad. I think he's one of the worst GMs in football. I think he's
really?
Completely. Yeah, I think it goes back. He inherited Daniel Jones. I think we need to keep that in mind.
Correct.
I think he completely misplayed that situation.
The Barkley situation. Yeah.
the Barkley situation starts with Daniel Jones.
Correct.
They paid Daniel Jones all this money, and we all knew in real time that was a dumb idea. You either pay him less or you trade him.
I kind of understand why he did it though, because at the end of last year, Daniel Jones had a really nice stretch of it before he got hurt. He was really heating up, and they were playing well, and he got to the playoffs.
You're talking about 2 years ago when they beat Minnesota at home. Because last year he was injured the whole year. But before
Not the whole year, like
no, he tore his ACL a month or 6 weeks
thought
in
it was-
last year.
okay.
No.
So he missed most of last year.
And I
with
think
ACL.
your argument holds a little bit because he went into Minnesota and won. They won a playoff
Correct.
game. It went well. It went great. But I don't think they won that playoff game because of Daniel Jones. I think they won.
What I think Shane was thinking is this. Like we all heard before, you can get worse at quarterback faster than you're going to get better at quarterback.
That's fair. That's
so
very
they're
fair.
going to use their collateral to get the top tier receiver, and they did that. They did that, and they were successful. They went to free agency. They got studs in the free agent market.
Mhm.
You know, whether this is where the coaching comes into play. They're not playing cohesive. That's the coach's job to get that done.
But their most cohesive team was that team 2 years ago that went into Minnesota and
Correct.
won the road playoff game, and that was Dable. That was Dable's game planning.
Yeah.
That was his swagger.
You know what?
That's why I
But
wouldn't fire him.
Dable has not looked good this year. He has not done a good job coaching this year.
And this Shane conversation is just like the Daniel Jones part of it is just
Yeah.
one element. Like they completely mishandled Saquon.
The Barkley thing, I don't understand why. I mean, we've seen bad GMs here in Detroit do the same thing. Why you're haggling over a couple $1 million. There are billionaires haggling with millionaires about a couple $1 million. Makes no sense to me. Makes no fucking sense.
What do you want to say about the Colts? There's a lot to say.
What am I going to say about the Colts? I think Steichen is gone. You think he's fired?
I think so after Pat McAfee's
I think
comments.
he's going to be gone. I got a feeling that Jonathan Gannon's job is up for fucking grabs too here. I think you're going to see more guys get fired this year than ever before.
I am going to go ahead and read the entire Pat McAfee tweet. So you can get the gist. Pat McAfee is an absolutely massive Colts ambassador. He obviously played there. He's not from there, but retired there and will never leave there. And someone tagged him on Twitter last night and said, I hope Pat McAfee show does a whole no-holds-bar on the state of the Colts tomorrow on the show. And he responded with a dissertation. He said, I've said what I believe to be the truth about the team, and a bunch of Colts fans on the internet were trying to get me booed out of the city. Current players who have won nothing during their entire tenures started using me and my face to try and paint me as an enemy in the city I've committed my life to, and in the end, everything went just like I fucking said it would. In the biggest moments, everybody with the brain knew they'd crack, and they did. A blind person could see that all the red flags on the team. The work ethic questions never happens on good teams. Preparation, commitment questions never happens to good teams. Late to meetings never happens to good teams. That's literally the only thing you need to tell someone who knows ball, and they could tell you everything about this team. The franchise quarterback, who's a professional athlete getting paid millions of dollars in the face of a multi-billion-dollar franchise, tapped out of the game mid-game because he was tired in the middle of the season. Oh, wow. That team has no chance, and would be an immediate response. So basically, he thinks it's an entire cultural issue. There's a lack of work ethic. It starts at the top, and it trickles down to all the teams. Yeah, they're going to blow this up. They're going to blow this whole thing up. I think there's some pieces worth keeping. Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson, and I know you can argue that Anthony Richardson might not even be worth keeping. I think Anthony Richardson might do great with a really good offensive coordinator. They're going to blow this whole thing up. This was bad. Losing to the Giants was bad. Losing last week was bad. Losing to the Broncos in the fashion that they did with the amount of prep that they did was bad. Yeah, I mean, what's more? There's nothing more to say. I think they choked away. I was high on the Colts before the year. I thought they had a shot to win this division. This
In a
division
weak
was
division. It's weak.
It's a weak division.
Weak.
You needed 10 wins to win this division, and the Colts were on the wrong end of a few
They're
games.
the
early in
AFC East of the Brady era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm okay to move on if you are with this.
Well, I mean, what do you do? Do you
Starts with a coach. It starts with a coach. Go get a guy. Go get
get a real get somebody in there that knows ball?
someone in there.
We
that knows ball.
need to stop. We need to stop regurgitating the same bullshit every year after year. When you see these fucking Matt Patricia or somebody else get a fucking another opportunity, that shit needs to stop.
Certain teams.
You need to fucking go to the college ranks and get some of these guys at these small schools that love football, that know how to coach football, and do it from there, dude. Stop regurgitating all these fucking coaches. It's disgusting.
So certain teams benefit from that player's coach, that a guy that was a player,
Yeah.
that understands his players, and maybe not an X's and O guy. This is the type of team that would benefit from a Dan Campbell, a Kevin O'Connell, a Sean McVay, the players' coaches. And they need to go find that guy. They need to go find that player's coach that motivates
The
these guys.
disciplinary guy doesn't work in this day and age.
Certain
So
teams,
Bill Parcells,
certain teams it does.
the fucking Jimmy Johnson. That Jimmy Johnson was a player's coach. Troy Aikman hated Jimmy Johnson. He used to bitch at Jimmy Johnson all the time because he would let all the guys on the defense do whatever they want.
I think this works with certain teams, but the Colts need that player's coach to help change the culture. Moving on, we'll keep this one short.
Deion Sanders is not. I don't think Deion Sanders is ready for the
No.
NFL.
I don't think a lot of guys would like playing for him.
I don't. It's not that they like playing. Listen, one thing I respect Deion Sanders is this: he's not going to sugarcoat it. He's brash and he's arrogant. Always was and always will be. But
You can back it up.
he always backed it up, and he expects whoever plays for him to do the same thing, and that's why his kid is going to probably be drafted in the top 5.
Moving on, the Raiders took down the Saints. I believe this was in New Orleans, 25-10. Not much to talk about here. We'll keep this one short. Is Antonio Pierce's job safe?
No,
I agree.
no, I think he's going to be replaced.
I agree.
I do. I don't think it was cute while it lasted, but you can't take a team with that much talent and not do anything with it. And when that happens, your job's in jeopardy.
I just think they have a chance to get this offseason like really right. I think they have a chance. To
I've been saying that for 5 years with them.
Well, they've never gotten a quarterback in those 5 years. They still haven't figured out the post Derek Carr.
Still haven't figured it out. You should have kept fucking Carr if that was the case.
Speaking of which, who do you think will be the Raiders quarterback in 2025?
I do not know. It won't be Minshew.
No.
I mean, I personally don't mind the kid that's there.
Aiden O'Connell.
I like O'Connell. I don't think he's that bad. I think if you put tools around him, you can make him very serviceable. But is he that if factor? No.
Tom Brady's going to get a say in this thing. And I think at that point, Brady's going to push a little bit to go after a quarterback, which means if you're going to do it through the draft, it means you're going to end up with Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. I think that's
Okay.
And I'm with you. Maybe they're not top 5 talent, but they need a quarterback.
The last guy I'd be listening to right now is Tom Brady. I wouldn't listen to anything he has to say.
Sam, did you hear that?
I'm just let's be honest. No, would you? I just he can give his opinion. That would be fine. But as far as listening to him, if I was Mark Davis, I would double think that. But he's a weirdo, so he gets everything he deserves. Actually, he hasn't been exposed yet.
Moving on, the Jags took down the Titans in Duval County, 20-13. I think the Jags have been playing inspiring football down the stretch. We will see what that means for Doug Peterson's future. Real quick on the Titans, they now hold pick 2. They've advanced all the way up the ladder to hold pick 2. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, they are starting both Will Levis and Mason Rudolph on Sunday. They will both play because they want to get final looks before the draft to see if they need to assess the quarterback position. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, they got to figure it out, dude. They want to move on from Levis. Well, here, what do you think of Rudolph? What do you think of Mason Rudolph?
No, you need better than what you have. You need
Right.
better than
You need better than him.
Levis. If you want to leave the door open for
Just because he's younger, if you want to keep him as a backup, I guess you could do that.
if you want to leave the door open for bringing in a good offensive mind to see what you have, you can try and do that. I think the Titans are missing some items. They might. Be
I personally don't think they should have moved on from Vrabel. That was one of the
100%.
most shocking departures that I've seen probably in the last 10 years. I can't believe he just they moved on from him.
I agree.
It didn't make any sense. He made the playoffs every year he was there, and it didn't make any sense.
And then I just want to give flowers to Brian Thomas, who won me my fantasy league. He finished as wide receiver 3 in fantasy football this year, and fantasy football production does equate to production on the field. So Brian Thomas is one of the top pass catchers. He's one of the top yards after contact guys. He finished with over 1,000 yards his rookie year. He was 1 or more touchdowns a game over the last 3 weeks. I mean, he caught a touchdown in almost every game this year. That young man has an incredible future. He's the
two
real
different
deal.
quarterbacks.
I think 3. I think it's
Three?
it was Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones. They might have, no, maybe it was just 2.
Lawrence and Jones.
Um,
Well, 2 quarterbacks that Trevor
Aren't
Lawrence
great.
could be real good at times, and then he could be real bad.
I think.
I mean, he produced where Calvin Ridley was on that same team and could not produce. So I don't get it.
in the event Doug Peterson does get fired, I think Jacksonville will actually be a very relevant job. I think Jacksonville will be a destination because Trevor Lawrence isn't that bad. We've
Listen to
seen
me.
him win a
Hey,
playoff game.
everybody talking about Ben Johnson to Chicago.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
this would be a good
I
spot for
would
Ben
like to
Johnson.
see-
I thought about
think
that.
Ben Johnson might even like being in
Yeah,
Jacksonville.
I've thought about that. Closer
They got
to
a
home
high
for him,
pick.
too.
They're gonna have. Where are they picking?
I think 3 right now.
3. They're picking at 3. They have a ton of young talent.
Oh
on
no,
it.
I'm sorry. They're down to 5. They're down to 5.
They're 5 now.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You still have a ton of young talent. They got shit to build there. You got outstanding receiver. You got 2 decent running backs that he can deal with. I think that defense is better than a lot of teams that are in the playoffs right now. I just think that you could really turn it up, man.
The pieces are there.
That's there. Where do you think he goes?
Ben Johnson.
Yeah,
I don't know if
Carolina. Carolina's looking
No.
for a fucking coach too.
No. They're not firing Dave Canales. There's no. He's
I
had a
don't
good
know
end
about
of the
that.
year.
I don't know about
he,
that.
He revived Bryce Young. They're not
We'll
firing.
see what happens. Who owns that team?
Dave Canales,
Who owns that team?
an idiot that's
There
already
you
been
go, bud.
scolded.
There you go, bud.
Dave
I
Canales.
wouldn't say he's fucking. His job is safe.
In 2022, Dave Canales revived Geno Smith, turned him into what he is. 2023, he revived Baker Mayfield, turned him into what he is. 2024, he's at the beginning stages of a reclamation project of Bryce Young. I don't think they're going to fire him. His players love him.
See
He's a
what
good
happens.
offensive mind. It won't happen this year if they
The
fire him.
temper guy's a fucking weirdo, dude. He'll fire anybody anytime. So believe me, they're going to end up the year picking where? Where's Carolina
The
picking?
Panthers are picking.
They're in the top 10, no?
6.
6.
New
There you
England is
go.
1.
There you go.
The Titans are 2. The Browns are 3. The Giants are 4. Jags are 5. Carolina is 6. Jets are 7. Raiders are 8. Bears are 9. Saints are 10.
So how many of those teams move up?
It depends who's sitting there. I think of
Right.
quarterback. Who needs a quarterback? Who are the quarterback needy teams? Moving on. We're getting close here, guys. The Dolphins. We have 2 games left. Dolphins somehow won a game in cold weather with a backup quarterback. Snoop Doogity Doo took down Dorian Thompson-Robinson 20-3 in Cleveland.
That tells you how fucking just awful the Cleveland Browns are.
Like I
They've
mentioned,
packed it in.
the
dude.
Browns have moved up to pick 3, and they are favored to select Cam Ward as of now. What do you think, Uncle Sam? Are they going to take a quarterback?
At this point, I wouldn't even know. I mean, Dorian Thompson-Robinson. What happened to Winston?
I
happened to
believe
Jalen?
he's also banged up, and he was the emergency 3rd quarterback.
Again? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he should start going forward.
I mean,
By going forward, I mean next week, the last game.
what do you do? You're still vested in Deshaun Watson until that situation is taken care of. Do you think Stefanski loses his job?
Maybe now.
I do too.
Because that was an uninspired. It was either a tanking effort or an uninspired effort yesterday.
That scares
That's
me
a problem.
because that's where guys lose their fucking jobs. Even though I think he's a good coach, I think he's going to lose his fucking job. He was dealt a really fucked up hand from the get-go.
Shout out to Boogeyman Plays in the chat. What's going on? Stephen Eric Villada, stay tuned. We might be giving away Vikings tickets. We will see. Talk to us later in the week. As for the Dolphins, they are still alive, like I mentioned. They need to win this week. They're playing the Jets, and then they would need the Bengals to lose and the Broncos to lose, and they would get in as the 7th seed. Do you think it's happening? By the way, I think it's Snoop Hundley again. I think Tua's got a hip issue, and I think he's shut down for the rest of the regular season unless they make the playoffs. So the word is that we don't know on Tua.
That's kind of crazy, man. You're in a fucking hunt like this, and you're going to go with Huntley. Good luck.
We don't have any other quarterbacks.
Good luck. Yeah, good luck. They're going to get bounced.
And perhaps the second best game, one of the games of the weekend, the Commanders took down the Falcons in overtime in a very pivotal game for both teams because the Falcons are now very much on the outside looking in. They needed that to control their own destiny. They didn't get it. 30-24, like I mentioned, in overtime. More Jaden Daniels magic in both the fourth quarter and overtime. But you know who else had some magic, Uncle Sam?
That's it, Michael Penix.
Sure was. Michael Penix with a beautiful throw on 4th and long to tie the game. That being said, I want to talk real quick. I think Raheem Morris, that field goal that Riley Patterson missed that was short, which was a great kick. It just didn't have the distance.
Yeah.
Earlier in the overtime, or earlier on that drive, he had a chance. Raheem Morris had a chance to take a timeout, and they were like 10 yards short of midfield, and he let the clock run. And I think they kind of choked the game away when that happened. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree.
There was so much clock mismanagement this weekend.
That wasn't the only game, yeah.
Zach Taylor in the Cincinnati game, he handed Bo Nix a minute and a half. He handed it to him. They could have had the ball with 30 seconds left and not been able to drive the field. He handed the ball away. Matt LaFleur was such a poor clock management.
I've never seen making decisions like he has.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just you know what? It was bad all the way around. All the way around. You had some guys making some really questionable fucking calls. I was just like, what am I watching here?
I agree. There was a lot of bad clock management this weekend.
Yeah.
And this was up there. I would argue that 2 out of the 3 games were cost because of it. But like I mentioned with the Falcons, they're not entirely dead. They just don't control their own destiny. The Falcons are in with a win and a Bucs loss. So the gist is in the South, if Tampa wins, they're in. If Tampa loses and Atlanta loses, Tampa is in. If Tampa loses and Atlanta wins, Atlanta is in. Commanders have clinched the 6th seed. The Commanders clinched the 6th seed with a win or a Packers loss. So they basically controlled the 6th seed, and they would go to the Rams. And I think that would be a fun-ass game. Seeing Jaden Daniels go out there would be a lot of fun to me. Did Jaden Daniels clinch the Rookie of the Year with that game yesterday?
I don't know.
I think he did. I think his numbers are too circus at this point, and you can't ignore him. I think Jaden Daniels is the Offensive Rookie of the Year. Barring some sort of crazy magic next week with Bo Nix, he's the only one I think that could challenge for it.
I thought Nix looked great. I did. And I'm a Daniels guy. I like Jaden Daniels. I thought he was the best quarterback in that class.
The difference between the two of them...
Bo Nix has really showed me that he...
The difference between the two of them is the fourth quarter performances, the fourth quarter comebacks.
Yeah.
And on top of that, Jaden Daniels' numbers at the moment are better than Lamar Jackson's.
You know what I like though? I like how Nix we've watched him progress from this young kid, deer in headlights, week after week. You just see him getting better and better, and now he's an absolute monster. He's a monster.
Nix is good. He's going to be a force in the future.
Yes.
Could be a force this year. Like they could totally make a playoff run this year.
I think him and Washington, listen, I know we said that we don't think Washington could beat Philadelphia. Listen, with Jaden Daniels, you never know. You never know.
I agree.
They could upset anyone.
Last week too.
Yeah.
Before we pick the Monday night game and talk about it, because we've been going on and yapping for an hour and a half.
Game.
Really quickly, let's do some college football playoff. We don't have to talk about the games, but let's pick them. The first one is tomorrow. It's the Fiesta Bowl live from Glendale, Arizona, as Penn State will take on the Boise State Broncos. Who are you picking in that one, Uncle Sam?
I don't know who's playing.
Penn State at Boise.
No, I know who's playing, but who's playing?
Everyone's playing. Ashton,
we don't even know.
Ashton Jenkins.
You don't even know.
Playing.
Listen, the whole Michigan team isn't going to. Michigan's whole fucking team just declared.
Well, they're
rows.
This is the Fiesta. This is the college football playoff.
I get that.
No one's opting out of these games. College football playoff.
Not yet.
No, they're not opting out.
Anyway.
Penn State and Boise. Who you got? Boise's the 3 seed. They have one loss this year. It was to Oregon.
Is it
by
at
1
Boise?
score. No, it's the Fiesta Bowl. It's in Glendale, Arizona.
Oh fuck! I hate that place. The turf is horrible. I could guarantee you this: the turf will be absolutely atrocious. People will be slipping and falling that whole fucking game, guaranteed. A la the Eagles.
I'm taking Penn State in this one.
I'm taking Boise.
That's fair. I'm taking Penn State.
I'm a Genty guy. I think did he ever break Sanders? Has he broken Sanders' record or no?
I don't know.
I don't think
he's
did.
a good player, and I'm a Genty guy as well. But he's not going up against the Mountain West. He's
really going to like to see him at the next level.
He's going up against the Big Ten's second best defense. I think he's going to struggle.
We'll see what happens.
1 p.m. on New Year's Day, Wednesday. It's the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl live from Atlanta, Georgia. Texas will take on the Big 12 champion Arizona State Sun Devils. Who do you got?
Texas.
Yeah, Texas. Arizona State's just not battle tested. I think the Big 12 was the worst Power 4 conference this year.
What's left of them?
What's left of them, yeah.
Yeah, because half the teams that were in there are gone. They're in the SEC.
The 2 intriguing games are the nightcap. The granddaddy of them all should be spectacular. In a way, it's still Big 10, Pac-12. I think this is a great matchup. I think this is number 1 and number 2 in college football. Ohio State and Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Who do you got?
I like Oregon.
Ohio State is just so talented to me. I don't want to say
Ryan Day sucks. Dude.
Ryan Day sucks.
He fucking sucks.
He's got this. He has to prove he can win a big game. This is the biggest game. If he doesn't win this one, I don't know. He's kind of out of excuses, even though they said they're going to bring him back. I think this is a big one. I think he's going to win this one.
How could you not bring him back? I mean, I get it.
Who are you going to get?
He's never beat Michigan since he's been there.
No, he beat him once. He beat him his first year.
Oh, he did?
Beat him his first year, 2018.
Yeah, but that wasn't his team.
Or excuse me, 2019. He beat him 2019.
His team.
Wasn't his team, but he beat him in 2019.
That team was somebody else's. The crook, Urban Meyer, the crook.
I think Ohio State wins because they're more talented. They probably should have won the first time around. I think the 2 most talented teams in college football are Ohio State and Georgia. There's enough guys left on this Ohio State team that were in that Rose Bowl a couple years ago after losing to Michigan, and they won that game. And then they were in the the Peach Bowl that they lost to Georgia on the field goal 2 years ago. I think Ohio State's going to be out for blood, and I think they're just a little bit more talented than Oregon, but I could totally see a scenario where Oregon wins.
I think Oregon's better coached. That's just my opinion.
Dan Lanning
that's why I'm taking
he's the
Oregon.
best coach in college football, Dan Lanning, and he's going to be a favorite to land a pro job, especially if they win a national championship.
Oh, yeah.
Could see it happening. Last, the nightcap. As always, New Year's Eve evening, the Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. And this is a fun matchup on paper. Notre Dame is going to try and take down Georgia in the SEC capital. I like Georgia in this one for the same reason I like Ohio State. I don't think Notre Dame should be in the conversation even this year. They have the pieces to do it. I think they can get the job done, but this Georgia team, the only question mark is a quarterback. They're starting their backup quarterback. Carson Beck has declared for the draft. He's officially out for the rest of the year. But the backup quarterback fared very well in the SEC championship game against Texas. Uncle Sam, what do you think? Georgia or Notre Dame?
Georgia.
I'm with you. Then lastly tonight, you got any keys for victory for the Lions? What are you thinking?
Actually, I took San Francisco.
You took San Francisco. I'm taking the Lions. I think they need it.
I think this is San Francisco's Super Bowl. They're going to come out. They're going to be hungry. They're going to be wild. I think they're going to win. That's my opinion. What are you shaking your head about, Bruce? What the fuck? Why?
I have no reason.
All right.
Inactives tonight, David Montgomery, Teddy Bridgewater, who's the emergency third quarterback, Giovanni
Why
Mannion.
is Teddy Bridgewater on the team again?
They brought just have him on the
man.
practice squad for leadership.
Why?
He motivates
Oh.
the defensive guys. He's mentoring.
Yeah.
Shit
guys.
about
He's not on the active
ball
roster.
game.
He's just
I'm sorry?
here.
don't talk shit about Teddy Ball.
Teddy Ballgame? Teddy Ballgame hasn't been relevant in 10 years.
Broderick Martin, Jonah.
Locker room
It's
guy.
a red
right?
flag that Broderick Martin still doesn't crack the lineup with all the injuries they have at D line.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, isn't it?
It's a red flag.
Huh?
Yeah, no, they didn't know. Yeah, Jalen Reeves-Maven is making his debut, and
Oh,
we're 1
God.
week away on Cleveland.
Debut of what?
Well, not debut. He played earlier this year.
Oh. Okay.
49ers actives. Drake
What
Greenlaw.
about high school? Is he playing?
Who's high school?
Anzalone. What do you mean? Who's
No,
high school?
Anzalone.
No, who high school is.
I don't. Anzalone
Huh?
might be next week.
No.
I actually do like the Lions tonight because I think that they're going to be really motivated to play this game, and I also think it's a good test for them going against Minnesota next week because this is Kevin O'Connell's offense. It's Mike Shanahan's offense, which means it's Kyle Shanahan's offense. It's getting guys open in space and short yardage plays and working through the running backs and the quarterback doing dump offs, keeping the quarterback efficient. So going against Purdy is going to be a good litmus test of going against Darnold. And I think they're going to be motivated to play. I think that after last year, the way they lost, they're going to have a bad taste in their mouth. So I think they're going to, guys don't quit. I don't think Lions quit. Real quick, let's debate. What do you think they should be benching their guys tonight? Should they be benching their starters?
No, let them all play.
I can see it both ways. And as the days gone on, I felt less and less comfortable with the starters playing. But Uncle Sam brought up a great point. When the Lions are rusty, they don't play as well. So I want the starters to play.
No, when they don't play or they have too much time off, they always come out flat. I just like they did against Buffalo. They look like shit. They always come out flat off a bye week, and I hate that. I hate it. They came off a 10-day deal with the Buffalo game, and they laid an egg. Every time they come for some time off, they lay an egg. I don't like it. I don't even want them to have the first round bye. I don't want it. I don't want that first round bye. They get that first round bye, they're going to come out flat. Guaranteed.
Do you guys have anything to add? Nothing to add?
Who?
Bruce, nothing to add?
No, I got nothing.
You all right,
Who do
bud?
you think's going to win tonight?
I didn't hear you say my name.
Oh.
I said, do you guys have anything to add?
Yeah, you guys, huh? You know,
All right,
Are you not
dumbass.
a
You have
guy?
anything to add, dumb
Lions,
fuck?
man. Forward down the field.
Oh,
It's
God.
not the same
Yeah.
San Francisco team that you saw in the past.
Listen to me. Listen to me right now. I know this is going to sound
Kirby
fucking...
Joseph.
I know this is going to sound stupid,
Be alive.
but if they can give Brock Purdy some time, as I don't see Detroit really pressuring them, I think Brock Purdy will return to form of his old self and just pick them apart.
Thank you for listening. You can like and subscribe. Go ahead and follow us on YouTube by ringing the bell. We're also on TikTok. We want to be followed on TikTok. If we do give away tickets this week, it's going to be on
even
TikTok.
say anything about me giving Brock Purdy props right now?
No.
You're not going to say anything about that?
No. 'cause
You know how I feel about Brock Purdy, right?
You give Brock Purdy
fucking
time, he's going to
dog
carve you
shit.
up. Hold your cover tonight. You can find us on TikTok at Tipballs Podcast, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Tipballs. Same with Instagram. We love to interact with you guys on there, so go ahead. And, of course, YouTube. We will be back on Friday to recap some stuff and to pick the final week of games. Thank you for listening. Go Lions.